She stopped replying. The energy changed. Suddenly the warmth turned cold, and you're left wondering if it was something you said, something you did, or something you didn't do. You're checking your phone every few minutes. You've typed out a message, deleted it, then typed another. You're replaying conversations in your head like they hold some secret code. But deep down, you already know what's happening. You're being tested, not by chance, not by accident, by design, and your reaction. It will decide whether she runs or starts chasing you again. Men, listen carefully. There is a pattern to this. It's been played out for generations, and the only way to win this game is by understanding that silence is not your enemy. Reaction is. If you've ever been ignored, ghosted, pulled away from, and it crushed you inside, then this will be the most important message you'll ever hear. Because when a woman distances herself from you, there is only one truth. Your next move rewrites everything. Number 1. Stop all contact immediately. The moment she begins to withdraw, when her replies become shorter, her presence fades, and your gut tells you that something has shifted, you must resist everything in you that wants to reach out, to chase, to ask what went wrong, to fix what feels broken, because that impulse, while natural, is the exact instinct that has betrayed you time and time again. For what feels like care in your heart will read as desperation in her eyes. And in a world where value is tied not to who you are, but how much you are pursued, the man who refuses to chase becomes the man she can't stop thinking about. Not because he's playing games, but because he finally understands that his worth isn't negotiated through attention, it's declared in restraint. And when you stop yourself from texting her that one last message, from reacting to her breadcrumb story, from liking her photos just to stay visible in her world, you're doing more than ignoring her. You are protecting your self-respect from erosion. You are drawing a line in the sand where your dignity begins and her games end. And although it will hurt, although it will make you question everything and replay every memory with the intensity of 1,000 sleepless nights, you must realize that her distance is not an accident. It is an invitation for you to surrender your strength, and most do. Most fall into the trap of proving themselves, showing how much they care, trying to remind her of who they are. But what you must understand now, right now, is that she remembers exactly who you are. She knows how much you cared, and she is pulling away to see if you will forget yourself in the process of trying to keep her interested. And when you choose to say nothing, when you choose to vanish into focus instead of emotional reaction, you are no longer trying to win her back. You are reclaiming a piece of yourself you've been handing away too easily. You are reminding yourself that a man who gives his presence where it is not respected is a man who teaches others how to treat him. And when you stop responding, when you disappear not as a tactic, but as a declaration of self-worth, you do more for your confidence, your future, and your identity than any conversation, explanation, or closure ever could, because the world does not reward men who need validation. It remembers men who define their value by the way they walk away when their value is ignored. And this act of restraint is not just the first step in her rediscovering your worth. It is the first time you will feel what it's like to prioritize yourself above the hope of being chosen by someone who made you an option. And yes, it will feel lonely. Yes, your mind will scream at you to do something, anything, to reach out. But what you're doing is building the emotional muscle most men never develop, the ability to walk away from something they want when it's no longer in alignment with who they are becoming. And this ability, this inner strength, this unbreakable stillness, it will do more than bring her back. It will transform every relationship you have for the rest of your life, because women are drawn to power, not control. And when you no longer seek reassurance, when you no longer react out of fear of losing her, She will feel something unfamiliar, the weight of your absence, and that weight, if carried long enough, will crush her pride and awaken her realization, because no woman forgets the man who didn't chase. No woman forgets the man who walked away, not in bitterness, but in certainty, and the longer you hold this line, the more her mind will begin to race, not with memories of what you did wrong, but questions she never asked before. Why didn't he reach out? Who is he talking to now? Did I lose him forever? And in this mental maze, where she once felt in control, she now feels the panic that once lived in you. And this is not revenge, it is equilibrium. It is the balance that returns when you stop giving all of yourself to someone who only gave you pieces. So every time you feel the urge to text her, to check her page, to say something that could reopen the door, ask yourself this: if she had already chosen you, would you feel the need to prove anything? And if you wouldn't, then why prove yourself to someone who has yet to decide if you're worth it? You are not a salesman, you are not a volunteer in someone else's story. You are the author of your own, and every second you spend waiting for her reply is a second you're not writing the next chapter of your life. The one where you rise, where you redirect your energy toward yourself, and where you look in the mirror weeks from now and see a man who didn't just survive heartbreak. He became untouchable because of it. Number 2. Control your emotions, or she controls you. Pain has a voice. It speaks not in words, but in the way your fingers tremble when you go to text her one more time. In the way your thoughts loop through every interaction, searching for a clue that never appears. In the way your confidence shatters every time your message sits unread. That's not heartbreak, that's self-abandonment. And the moment you allow your emotions to drive your actions, you are no longer steering your life. She is. You think you're expressing yourself, but what you're actually doing is bleeding in front of someone who's already left the room. Control is not suppression, it is refinement. It's not about bottling up how you feel. It's about directing those feelings towards something that rebuilds you, not weakens you. When she distances herself, your emotions are going to scream for release. Your ego will beg to be reassured. Your soul will ache for validation. But this is where most men collapse. They react, they panic, they try to negotiate through tears and texts, and with every action they sink deeper into powerlessness. But the man who can pause, who can feel the waves crashing inside and still not be moved by them, that man terrifies people. That man commands attention. That man becomes unforgettable. Because control is rare, and what is rare is respected. She might not know what to do with a man who doesn't flinch, who doesn't ask for closure, who doesn't lose himself just because she's unsure. But that's exactly why she'll think about you when the room is dark, and her new distraction feels hollow. Because in a world full of men who react, the man who regulates is a revelation. You must become that man, not just for her, but for you, for your future, for your peace. That means building habits that support strength. You don't argue, you analyze. You don't vent, you journal. You don't chase, you channel. Into your body, into your mission, into your purpose. When emotions rise, you lift heavier, you run further, you speak less, you do more. Because transformation doesn't come from comfort. It comes from consistent discomfort that you've learned to convert into power. She will feel your shift. The world will feel your shift. But most importantly, you will feel it. In the way your spine straightens, in the way your breath deepens, in the way your eyes stop searching for answers outside yourself. This is what Stoic men have always known. That you are not what happens to you, you are how you respond. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. So if she walks away, let her. If she doubts you, let her. If she thinks you'll fold, let her be shocked. Not by your words, but by your unshakable resolve. Because the truth is, you're not trying to get her back. You're trying to get yourself back. And once you do, once you fully become the man who does not lose himself in temporary rejection, she will either come back to a man she no longer deserves, or you'll look back and thank her for pushing you toward your ultimate form. Either way, you win. Control yourself, and you'll never need control over anyone else again. Number 3. Detachment equals power. There is a reason the strongest men you've ever heard of, the ones who built empires, led revolutions, or rewrote history, all shared one thing in common. They knew how to walk away. They didn't beg. They didn't chase. They didn't collapse under the weight of being misunderstood. They moved, and in that movement, they transformed everything. See, when you detach, truly detach, you don't just stop texting, you stop centering your worth around someone else's validation. You stop needing them to acknowledge your effort for it to be real. You stop needing them to return affection for you to feel enough. You shift your gaze inward, and in doing so, you awaken something few ever touch: complete control. Detachment is the art of remaining whole in a world that profits off of your dependency. It is not about being emotionally numb. It is about being emotionally clear. You feel everything, but you do not act on everything. You acknowledge the hurt, but you do not turn it into a performance. You absorb the confusion, but you do not let it shake your direction. You see the messages she's posting, the hints she's leaving, the curiosity she's baiting you with, and you simply keep walking, not because you don't care, but because what you care about more is the man you're becoming. And that man, he doesn't chase ghosts. He doesn't collapse into nostalgia. He doesn't abandon the mission to answer a question that has already answered itself through her absence. When you detach, you stop bleeding for someone who didn't even ask where the wound came from. You stop offering explanations to someone who already made up their mind, and in that stillness, you become undeniable. This is the paradox. The less you need her to return, the more likely she is to. But by then, you've already elevated beyond the need for closure, because you gave it to yourself. You created it through discipline, through growth, through choosing not to react to the games. And it is a game, not always out of malice, but often out of instinct. People test what they don't understand. And when she sees you not flinch, not explain, not fold, not even lean in, you become a mystery. Not because you're hiding, but because you've decided that your peace is louder than her questions. Detachment doesn't say, "I don't care." It says, "I care, but I won't beg you to match me." It doesn't scream. It doesn't prove. It simply rises. And when it rises high enough, those who once walked away start looking up again, wondering how they ever thought they'd find better. But detachment doesn't wait for their return. It builds so much life that their reappearance is nothing more than background noise in a symphony that never needed their applause. And maybe, when she sees what you've become, she'll want back in. But by then, she'll have to climb to meet you, because you didn't stay where she left you. You outgrew the version of yourself that needed to be chosen. You became the man who chooses. Number 4, don't respond to silence with words. She pulls away, and your heart screams. Your brain tries to find logic. You type and erase, hoping to craft the perfect sentence, the one that might bring her back. But every word you send when she has gone quiet is a sacrifice of power. It's not communication, it's compromise. Because when someone withdraws, they are making a statement, even if they pretend otherwise. And the worst thing you can do, the absolute worst, is to fill that space with explanations. Do you really think she didn't see your last message? That she misplaced her phone? That she got too busy? You know the truth. You just don't want to sit with it. So you talk. You over-express. You try to fix what isn't broken, because it was never about the words. It was about how much you're willing to give without being received. And when you respond to withdrawal with a wall of text, you turn yourself into noise, not presence, not power, noise. She tunes it out because she's already made her move, and she's watching to see if you'll validate it. And every time you do, you lower your worth in her eyes. Not because your words weren't beautiful, but because your restraint wasn't. She doesn't need another message. She needs contrast. She needs a pause. She needs to feel your absence. But most of all, she needs to be confronted with the version of you that does not bend simply because someone else became unsure. And that version, that rock of a man, speaks not with paragraphs, but with presence, with action, with clarity. He doesn't ask, "Why did you go quiet?" He asks himself, "What am I building that speaks louder than her silence?" That's the real question, and the answer will never be found in emojis or question marks. It will be found in how you carry yourself when the person you care about stops acknowledging you. You can either chase closure or create peace. You can either beg for a response or become so focused she has no choice but to remember you. And when she does, it'll be because you didn't make yourself smaller, trying to fit inside her confusion. You expanded, you built, you evolved, you turned the unanswered message into fuel, into drive, into excellence. So don't respond, not with words, not with reaction. Respond with transformation, with the version of yourself that doesn't seek permission to be great, because if she left a man who needed her, she must return to a man who needs nothing. And that begins now. Number 5. Power comes from progress. There's a reason you feel lost when she pulls away. And it's not because she was your everything. It's because somewhere along the way, you forgot who you were without her attention. You stopped building. You paused your purpose. You let yourself drift into a version of life where your direction depended on her response. But now that she's gone quiet, now that she's moved differently, now that her absence has triggered the panic, you're standing at the threshold of something very few ever reach. The opportunity to rebuild yourself from the ground up. Not for her, not for revenge, but because the man you're becoming has been buried under layers of compromise, confusion, and codependency. And the only way out is forward. Progress is not just about changing your routine. It's about deciding that who you were when she left is not who you'll remain. It's about understanding that pain can either be your prison or your power. And every single choice you make after this moment determines which it becomes. Get in the gym, not to impress, but to confront yourself, push your limits, break through the weakness that years of comfort built around you. Lift not just for the body, but for the mind, for the discipline, for the unshakable resilience that comes when you do what's hard, even when no one is watching. Fix your posture, fix your voice, fix your routine. Build structure where chaos used to rule. Wake up earlier, make your bed, eat like you give a damn about your future. Show the world and yourself that you're not going to be the guy who fades just because she stopped texting. Start stacking your wins. Open that business idea you shelved. Learn a new skill. Take risks that scare you, because safety has never made anyone unforgettable. Move in silence, but move with purpose. Let every rep, every book, every late night be a love letter to the man she didn't wait for. The man she'll one day see and realize was never meant to chase. You were never meant to be a passenger in someone else's story. You were built to build. And the moment you start doing that, truly, everything changes. Your energy shifts. Your presence deepens. People feel it. And when she sees you again, whether in person or from a distance, she won't recognize the man you've become. Not because you changed to win her back, but because you outgrew the version of you who needed her in the first place. And that kind of growth, that kind of power, it doesn't just bring peace, it brings options. You'll walk into rooms differently. You'll speak differently. You'll stop trying to be chosen, because you've become the man who chooses. So don't waste another second wondering what went wrong. Use every moment to make something right, with your life, with your habits, with your future. Power doesn't come from pain alone. It comes from what you do with it. Turn it into fuel, turn it into fire, and watch the world, and her, start watching you differently. Not because you asked for it, but because you earned it. Number 6. Let curiosity work for you. Do you know what keeps someone up at night? What really haunts their mind? It's not answers, it's questions, unanswered, unresolved, and unexplained. That's where obsession begins. And that's exactly what you create when you stop reacting, stop reaching, and start focusing, without explanation. When you stop giving her your words, your updates, your digital affection, she doesn't feel closure. She feels uncertainty. And in that space, something dangerous begins to brew. Not because you're manipulating, but because you finally pulled back the one thing she always relied on, your availability. She got used to it. She expected the double texts, the likes, the story views, the validation. And now, it's gone. Not loudly, not dramatically, just missing. And suddenly, her mind starts to race. Where is he? Is he okay? Is he talking to someone else? And more importantly, why did he stop caring? See, attention is addictive. And when you remove it without warning, without begging, without bitterness, the vacuum it leaves is louder than any message you could send. She starts watching you more closely, but not directly, indirectly, through burner accounts, through mutual friends, through carefully crafted posts meant to spark a reaction. She might post something she knows will trigger you, a song lyric, a selfie, a quote. But it's not for her, it's for you. She's throwing pebbles at the window, hoping you'll turn the light back on. But you don't, because now you understand the game. You don't reward confusion. You don't validate withdrawal. You let the distance create the weight it was always meant to carry. And that weight, it gets heavy, especially when she sees you moving differently. When she sees your glow up, your progress, your absence not just in her inbox, but in the energy she used to feel from you, and the questions grow. What changed? Who is he becoming? Did I mess this up? Curiosity is emotional glue. And if you hold your position long enough, without games, without theatrics, just by living better, you'll find something incredible happens. She starts reaching. Maybe not directly at first. Maybe it's a like, a reply to your story, a comment. But it starts. Because the unknown pulls harder than the known ever could. So use that, not to punish her, but to protect yourself. To stop giving where it's not reciprocated. To stop proving and start elevating. Let your transformation be the mystery she tries to solve. Let your focus be the question she can't stop asking. And when, not if, she comes back around, you'll be faced with the one decision that separates boys from men. Will you open the door to someone who left it without looking back? Or will you acknowledge the power of your own evolution and choose only what adds peace to your life? That's the power of holding frame, of holding back, of letting curiosity do what words never could. Make her feel what it's like to lose access to a man who decided his life was too full to be waiting on breadcrumbs. And when she feels that, the game is no longer yours to play, it's hers to catch up. Number 7. Build a life she can't ignore. You don't rebuild to impress her. You rebuild so well that the old version of you never has a place to return to. That means creating a life so undeniable, so full of substance, motion, and meaning, that the very idea of losing you begins to haunt those who once took you for granted. When you stop trying to be chosen, and instead become the man who builds without asking for attention, something extraordinary happens. People begin to take notice without needing to be told, not because you forced them to, but because value cannot hide forever. You want to make her feel something? Don't send another message. Don't comment on her story. Don't post a quote you hope she'll read. Go build. Build your body until you walk into rooms and energy shifts. Build your finances until money no longer controls your emotions. Build your social life until your weekends are so full of growth and adventure that you forget you were once waiting on her text. Do it not to get her back, but to build yourself back. Because somewhere along the way, you made her the centerpiece of your world. And now you make yourself the foundation of an entirely new empire. Go take that trip you put off. Go to that event you avoided. Surround yourself with people who elevate you, not those who remind you of her. Document your growth, not for social media, but for your legacy. When she sees that you're not the same, when she realizes you didn't collapse under the weight of her absence, a shift happens. She starts to question. She starts to doubt, not you, but herself. Did I walk away from something irreplaceable? And the truth is, if you've done this right, the answer is yes. But by the time she realizes it, you won't be waiting for her to figure it out. You'll be too busy living. You'll be too far ahead. And maybe she'll try to re-enter. Maybe she'll pretend nothing happened. Maybe she'll act like she always believed in you. But you'll know. You'll remember who left when things got quiet. And you'll look at her not with bitterness but with clarity. Because this journey isn't about revenge. It's about rebirth. You were never meant to be the guy checking her likes. You were meant to be the man who outgrew the need for them. The man whose life became a lighthouse, one she can't stop noticing, even if pride keeps her from admitting it. So building. Build with intensity. Build with discipline. Build like your future self is watching every move, because he is. And he's waiting for you to stop chasing and start creating. A life built with strength, clarity, and direction doesn't just attract her back. It attracts everyone who once overlooked you. But this time, you won't need their approval. You'll already know who you are. Number 8. Let her earn her way back. If she circles back, and believe me, many do, the moment you open the door without standards is the moment you erase all the power you worked to build. She doesn't come back into your life the same way she left. She doesn't get to return to comfort without confronting the distance she created. You are not a checkpoint in someone else's indecision. You are a destination that must be earned. When she left, it wasn't just the relationship that broke. It was trust. It was balance. It was the illusion that loyalty was unconditional. And if you've rebuilt yourself right, if you've grown into someone who commands respect and attention, you must protect that progress like sacred ground. Because the man you've become didn't rise through ease. He rose through pain, through discipline, through nights alone where your only companion was the echo of a message that never came. So when she returns to a new you, a version of you that doesn't beg, that doesn't forget, that doesn't bend at the sight of an old smile. She'll test the waters. She'll see if you're still the same. She might even say all the right things. But don't get swept away in the moment. Remember the journey. Remember the silence. Remember the void she left and what you had to become to fill it. She must see the cost of leaving, not through anger, but through boundaries. She must contribute this time. She must initiate. She must heal what she fractured. You don't make her pay for her distance, but you don't discount your value either. You speak with clarity, you live with direction, and you watch. Does her energy match her words? Does her effort reflect her regret? Because if not, you're not her safety net, you're her lesson, and you let her go again, not with resentment, but with reverence for what you've built. Because this time, you know your worth. This time, you won't ignore the red flags you once excused. You won't sacrifice your peace for a connection that once abandoned you. This time, If she wants to stay, she must walk through the discomfort of earning a place in the life you've built. Because that's what this is about. Alignment, not attachment. You're not the same man, and she shouldn't expect the same access. If she can meet you where you are, if she can support who you've become, if she can walk beside you without asking you to shrink, then maybe. But even then, you choose from strength. You choose knowing that your life was already complete without her. And that's the difference. Because the man who knows his value never has to convince anyone to stay. They feel it, they respect it, and if they don't, he lets them go again. Before this video ends, understand this. Most men will ignore everything you just heard and go right back to chasing, explaining, and handing over their power in exchange for breadcrumbs. Don't be that man. Be the one who transforms pain into progress, detachment into dominance, and rejection into rebirth. The truth is, she may never come back. But if you do this right, you won't care. Because by then, you'll have built a life too powerful to need validation. You'll look in the mirror and see a man no one walks away from without regret. Comment, "My growth is non-negotiable" below if you're done making excuses. Like this video, subscribe, and help more men find these truths before they waste years chasing people who never deserved them. The ebook that will hand you every tool to completely reshape your mindset, your confidence, and your reality is linked in the comments, but it won't be available forever. This knowledge will not stay public. Get it now while it's in your hands, because nothing changes unless you change.